Hello and welcome to The Nation ASEAN Plus. I'm Jessie Chahal, coming to you live from Wisma Bernama in Kuala Lumpur. Every weekend we bring you stories that made the week, as well as insightful perspectives from across a dynamic and diverse region. We've had some significant developments in the ASEAN bloc this week, but let's begin with this week's big stories, starting with right here in Malaysia. According to Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, Malaysia plans to create a national cloud policy and introduce regulations to encourage the ethical use of artificial intelligence, or as we know it, AI. Now, the announcement comes amid a wave of investments by global tech firms in Malaysia over the past year, as they seek to build critical infrastructure to cater to the growing demand for their cloud and AI services. The Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim said Malaysia's national cloud policy will focus on 4 core areas, namely public service innovation and efficiency, economic competitiveness and growth, strengthening user trust and data security, as well as empowering citizens through digital inclusivity. Well, the Prime Minister said his visit to Pakistan proves the highest commitment among the top leaders in the two countries to improve relations covering various fields, ranging from diplomatic to the economy. Anwar says there is great potential in trade relations between the two countries that need to be pioneered, involving several projects that will be worked on by both countries. He said there is a high level of seriousness among the leadership of the two countries that both see the importance of bilateral relations between Malaysia and Pakistan that will grow by leaps and bounds after his visit to this South Asian country in various fields. The Prime Minister also said that leaders of both countries have held serious discussions to increase cooperation in all areas of trade and agricultural technology, including meat, rice, and the import of palm oil by Pakistan. Now, Malaysia strongly calls on all parties in the Middle East to urgently de-escalate the heightening tensions that is destabilizing the region. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said Malaysia is also urging all concerned parties to take immediate action to reduce hostilities and establish conditions that are necessary to prevent a broader regional conflict from erupting. Anwar stressed that the continued aggression and attacks by Israel in Lebanon, Syria, Yemen were deliberate attempts to divert the global community's focus from its brutal atrocities and acts of genocide against Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Hassan's statement at the 79th United Nations General Assembly UNGA in New York recently reflects Malaysia's firmness and consistency on various universal issues, including justice for Palestine. Home Minister Datuk Seri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said such statements are crucial for seizing the opportunity to express Malaysia's views and stance on the international stage regarding various emerging issues that require immediate attention. The ASEAN Secretary-General, Dr. Kao Kim Horn, has held a video conference with Malaysia's Minister in the Prime Minister's Department of Law and Institutional Reform, Datuk Seri Azlina Othman Said, on Tuesday. The two officials discussed, among others, Malaysia's initiatives on international arbitration and third-party funding as the country gears up to take over the ASEAN chair in 2025. Laos, the current ASEAN chair, is set to officially transfer leadership to Malaysia during the ASEAN summit, which will take place from October 8th until October 11th. And Malaysian exhibitors at the 21st China ASEAN Expo in Nanning, China last week performed beyond expectations, generating total sales of 402.88 million ringgit. That was well above the 320 million ringgit target that was set for the event. The Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation, or MATRADE, said this achievement underscored the continued robust demand for Malaysian products in the Chinese market, as well as their sustainability among Chinese consumers. The Deputy Chief Executive Officer Abu Bakar Yusof said Martrade remains focused on supporting Malaysian SMEs in expanding their global footprint. Now, adopting the right narrative and the courage to make some tough decisions has contributed to the ringgit's rise to become the world's best performing currency against the US dollar. Economy Minister Rafizi Ramli stated that Malaysia has the potential to become a high-income country under the 13th Malaysia Plan if all parties focus on enhancing the ringgit's performance. He said the current ringgit's performance has boosted world and international investors' confidence here in Malaysia, in which businesses and industry players must capitalize on before investors lose interest. Rafizi said the news about the ringgit's performance would only result in a brief state of euphoria for the nation if these groups become distracted and allow the opportunity to slip by. Now, trust tech company GoGoLook said Malaysians have lost a total of 54 billion ringgit in scams in just a year, representing 3% of the country's gross domestic product. According to the State of Scam Report 2024, it said 70% of scam victims did not report their cases to the authorities, representing a 5% drop from the previous year. GoGoLook said the rise of AI-powered scams is particularly troubling, as 25% of Malaysians have expressed uncertainty about whether AI was involved in the scams they encountered. The tech company said the report found that 74% of respondents encountered scams at least once a month, with 43% noting an increase in scam attempts over the past year. When I come back, I'll bring you more updates from across ASEAN countries. You're watching the Nation ASEAN Plus right here on Bernama TV. Stay with me. I'll be right back. Welcome back. We continue the Nation ASEAN Plus with Indonesia. According to Minister of Foreign Affairs Retno Marsudi, Indonesia is running for a non-permanent member seat of the United Nations Security Council for the year 2029-2030. She said this reflects Indonesia's deep commitment to contribute to global peace and security. Retno emphasized that peace, justice and humanity will always be at the core of Indonesia's foreign policy, and its commitment to common peace, prosperity and security will be carried forward across its successive administrations. Now, Indonesia's investment minister said Indonesia has received $391.8 billion in domestic and foreign investments over the last 5 years. He said the sum was near twice that of previous 5-year period, which totaled to $224.6 billion. Now, he's also added that these investments were not limited to just Java, the most populous island and the home to the metropolis of Jakarta, but were increasingly directed to outlying islands as well. Now, Indonesia's President Joko Widodo has called for the immediate evacuation of Indonesian citizens in Lebanon following the escalating Israeli attacks in the Middle Eastern country. According to the president, he has instructed Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi to take necessary actions regarding the situation. He's also emphasized that the protection and safety of Indonesian citizens in Lebanon must be prioritized. According to the Foreign Ministry, at least 150 Indonesian citizens are still residing in Lebanon, excluding embassy staff and personnel from the Indonesian army that are participating in the United Nations interim force in Lebanon. I now take you to Singapore. A court on Thursday sentenced former Cabinet Minister ISWARAN to 12 months in prison for obstructing justice and receiving more than 300,000 Singapore dollars worth of gifts in the first jailing of an ex-cabinet member in a city-state famous for its clean governance. ISWARAN pleaded guilty last week to 4 counts of improperly receiving gifts and one of obstructing justice. Now, the case has shocked Singapore, which prides itself on having a well-paid and efficient bureaucracy, as well as strong and squeaky clean governance. According to Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index, Singapore was among the world's top 5 least corrupt countries last year. Meanwhile, the Singapore Prime Minister Lawrence Wong said his government will continue to uphold the highest standards of integrity following the sentencing of former Transport Minister Iswaran. Wong said the country's system ensures that all public officers are accountable and that no one is beyond scrutiny or above the law. Wong also expressed his disappointment and sadness that Iswaran's political career has ended this way. Now let's take a quick look at what's happening in Thailand. The bodies of almost 24 young students and teachers who died in a bus fire in a suburb of Bangkok were returned late Wednesday to central Thailand, where they began their ill-fated school field trip. Funeral services were to begin Thursday morning, and the tragedy has caused, of course, sadness as well as anger. On social media, parents have expressed nervousness about sending their children on school field trips, but more common was the outrage of the apparent lack of safety measures. The Thai police said they were investigating whether the fire was caused by negligence and filed several initial charges against the driver. The blaze on the bus, carrying 6 teachers and 39 elementary and junior high school students on Tuesday, spread so quickly that 23 were killed while only 22 were able to escape. 3 students remain hospitalized, 2 in serious condition. The chief of police forensics has said an inspection of the bus found that its emergency exit could be opened, but it wasn't clear if it worked properly. He also said that they did not find any emergency window breakers. The Prime Minister has offered her condolences in a post on a social media platform, X, saying that the government would take care of medical expenses and compensate the victims' families. Now we move on to something more light-hearted. Mu Ding, the baby pygmy hippo born in July in Thailand's Khao Kiao Open Zoo, has millions of fans on social media following her clumsily charming adventures. But she has also become an unlikely entrepreneurial catalyst. With her irresistible pink cheeks and pint-sized charm, Mu Ding, whose name basically means bouncing pig in Thai, has swept across social media users and has swept them off their feet. But her influence extends far beyond the digital realm, sparking a remarkable small business boom in Thailand. Mu Ding's viral appeal has reached far beyond cakes and toys. Her popularity has also inspired a variety of businesses, from cosmetics to fashion, and even attracted attention from global corporations both in Thailand and abroad. Well, in the Philippines, according to the country's weather bureau, Typhoon Kraton further intensified into a super typhoon on Tuesday morning, bringing heavy rain and strong winds to northern Philippines. Its weather bureau said that Typhoon Kraton, known locally as Julian in the Philippines, sustained maximum winds of 175 kilometers per hour near the center, with gusts of up to 215 kilometers per hour, about 80 kilometers west of Basco Batanes on Monday at 3 p.m. its local time. Kraton passed very close to the tip of the northern Luzon, but did not make landfall in the Philippines. Now, the Philippines typically records an average of 20 tropical storms annually, many of those typhoons with landslides among the biggest causes of casualties. Well, now, still in the Philippines, its aviation industry is on the cusp of a significant transformation and is poised to become an aviation hub in Asia by the year 2028, lifted by its airport privatization initiatives and the completion of its latest new airport. Department of Transportation Secretary Jamie Bautista said this advancement would be fueled by increased investment and private sector involvement in crucial areas like infrastructure, human capital and sustainable development. The country will also see another new airport the new Manila International Airport, which is also known as Bulacan International Airport, which is under construction on the coastal area 35 kilometers north of Manila, the capital of the Philippines. With all that, it's time for another short break. When I come back, I'll take a look at developments in other ASEAN countries. Don't wander off. I'll be right back. You're watching The Nation ASEAN Plus. Welcome back. You're still with me right here on The Nation ASEAN Plus, where we bring you news updates from across ASEAN countries. Let's continue with the latest from Vietnam now. The Vietnamese government is striving to register an economic growth rate of 6.8 to 7% for the year 2024. Now, based on Vietnam news agency's report on Thursday, citing the latest update from the Ministry of Planning and Investment, it was higher than the National Assembly's target of 6% to 6.5%. According to the ministry, many economic indicators have surpassed the National Assembly's goals despite unpredictable domestic and global developments. The country's GDP growth target has exceeded forecasts from international organizations, and the Asian Development Bank's projections for Vietnam's economic growth are unchanged at 6% in 2024, while the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, forecasts 6.1% of GDP growth for Vietnam this year. Shifting our focus to Myanmar, Myanmar's military government has launched a nationwide census on Tuesday intended to compile voter lists for a general election promised for next year, despite the ongoing civil war across much of the country. Census takers, mostly school teachers and local government workers, began going door to door in Naypyidaw at 7:30 a.m., accompanied by soldiers and police. The shadow National Unity Government, which opposes military rule, has urged people to be cautious when responding, while pro-democracy guerrillas have warned of reprisals against those who assist in collecting census data. Some were attacked and killed during a similar, smaller survey last year. The military, which took power from Aung San Suu Kyi's elected government in February 2021, is seen as using the upcoming election to make it legitimate. Now, Myanmar's Ministry of Immigration and Population says more than 42,000 census workers will gather information from more than 13 million households across the country. And recently, China's Ministry of Public Security has said that 20 suspects who are believed to have played significant roles in telecom and internet fraud gangs have been extradited to China following their arrests in a recent joint operation with Myanmar. According to a statement from the MPS, this operation represents yet another substantial achievement resulting from collaboration between the law enforcement forces of China and Myanmar. These suspects were found to be linked to criminal organizations in northern Myanmar, where they commanded armed forces, set up telecom fraud dens, and targeted Chinese nationals. They also are suspected of having committed serious violent offences, including international homicide and physical harm. Well, in Cambodia, the Festival of the Dead ended on an adrenaline-fueled note on Wednesday, with buffalo races captivating spectators who came to honour their revered ancestors. Hundreds of Cambodians converged near the Viher Suor Pagoda, about 46 kilometers from Phnom Penh, to watch decorated buffaloes thundering down the streets with their riders clinging on to their broad backs. The Festival of the Dead, which began on September 18, is a 2-week-long festival that honours lives lost during the Khmer Rouge regime. Cambodians were seen in temples, filling monks' alms bowls with cooked rice, laying out a lavish feast for the monks, and donating to the poor. Well, that's all the time we have for now. This has been your weekend insight into ASEAN. Stay informed with The Nation ASEAN Plus only on Bernama TV now. To keep yourself updated, do log on to bernama.com. There will also be links to our social media platforms as well. I'm Jessie Chahal. Thanks for tuning in and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.